Hello, welcome to Annie's Unfelted Creations. So I'd like to introduce my new hair kit. It's available at my Etsy store. The details should be there on screen. So here's the kit and we'll empty out the contents, give you an idea of what's inside. So the only thing that you will need along with this kit is something to felt onto. So you'll need a felting pad. Everything else is included in the kit. Your wool supplies in there. There's templates, notes and measurements and a guide, along with a pack of felting needles. So we'll just get everything out of the kit before we start to make the hair. So I'm going to use my wool felting pad. So these are available at the Etsy store too. But if you don't have one of these, you may have a foam pad or a rice pad. You just need something to work on to absorb the needles as you're stabbing. So I like to use the wooden multi-tool and also the pen tool. I tend to have a whole pot there full of my needles with different amounts of needles in. Finger protectors are a good idea if you're quite new to felting and you just want to protect your fingers. So the thumb and forefinger, those are the ones that generally hold your work and come into contact with those sharp needles. So we'll start to make the kit. The first step is making the body. So in this kit I have the core wool to make the body, and then we go on to cover it with the brown wool. The first hair body that I made, I just made it completely from the brown hair wool, which is an option. But in these kits I've provided the core wool and we'll cover it with the brown hair wool. So this is the template to give you an idea of the size that you want to make it. So we'll get started. I've measured out the wool that you'll need for the body, and we're going to start by rolling it up lengthways. And I can't emphasize how tight you need to make it, so keeping it really taut as you go along. I'll start by folding in the corners. This is going to push the wool into the center and keep that area quite firm. And as we go along, we're tucking in the sides, bringing more wool into the center. We don't want, although the hair body is quite long, the hair is quite tall, we don't want it as tall as the width of that wool. We need to bring that in, keeping both ends, which will be the neck and the base, nice and firm as we go along by stretching that wool around, and then we're tucking it in and feeling how firm it is as we go along. I've moved it onto my felting mat, which causes a little bit more friction so it's not sliding on the table now that I've got it down to a more manageable size. And I'm going to give it a little stab here, and I'll keep stabbing as we go along. So that's going to hold it a bit better for you as well as you're rolling up the wool. So the multi-tool is quite handy. I've just got 2 needles in that just to speed it up a little bit more. Now I'm going to add a little bit more wool, just a strip there, right down the middle on that last third. So that final little bit of rolling up, and it's going to strengthen the middle a little bit more. Keeping it really taut as we wrap this final piece, and then we'll just need to stab down those loose fibres, and that will hold the body. So next we will need to decide which is going to be the base and which is going to be the top of the neck of the hair. So on the base we want to stab it till it's firm, and at the neck end we're going to shape it a little more, so it's concentrating the stabbing a little more at the neck end, as I'm doing now. We keep looking at our template so that we can see how it's doing for size. So there's an awful lot of stabbing, and just keep moving it as you go. Keep turning it round, then you're going to get more even. It's going to be more even as you're going along. So that's the base. Make sure that's nice and firm because it wants to be able to stand up. And we keep stabbing and turning. Now I'm going to add some extra wool just across what you would call the spine, because we want it to be a little rounded rather than it just being straight up and down. So just concentrating on that area, short lengths, you can lay it across the hair, or you could lay a piece down the length of the body. So just building up a little bit in that area, and we can then put it against our template and see how we're doing for the shape and the size. So it needs a little bit more there just at the base. Just getting the right size strip to add on, because I don't want to fatten the rest of the hair out, just concentrating on that bit at the back. So now we're ready to cover the hair with the brown wool. So there'll be more than enough in your hair kit. I'm going to just stretching the wool a wee bit there, and I'm going to pull off a piece. Very roughly measure it around the hair. But I'm not going to put it cover it in one great big piece. We want to work in pieces. A little wee bit of dry grass or something in the hair there, in the wool. So it's a wee bit too big, that piece, so starting to felt the wool down. Cool. Yeah, pull a little bit off. There's a bit too much there to work with at one go. So basically now we're just going to cover the whole of the body in this brown hair wool. And I wouldn't worry too much about the wool running in a particular direction at this stage. As long as we get it covered, and later on we can get some finer pieces of wool and lay them so they look more natural. And we're going to be adding a little bit of the wools that we blend together later to cover most of this. So we'll just carry on now with the brown hair wool. If there's any wee patches, we can take a thin piece just to cover over those patches. So I'll carry on and cover this, cover the body. I should mention that whenever we're adding parts, as we'll be adding the head later on to the top of the body, we need to leave the fibres quite loose. That way they join together much easier. So although I've stabbed the neck area quite firm up to it, the very top I've left some loose fibres there for when we join the head later. So I'll just carry on now and cover up the whole of the body with the brown hair wool. Any bare patches, we can just add a little piece to cover those up. And we'll just carry on until it's completely covered and looks like this one. And finally we'll just take a strip of the natural white and lay the length of the body and just stab that down. And there we have the body complete.